What's going on in this landscape that you see are the big issues, the opportunities, the challenges? How do you see the overall tech landscape?
But I think the big challenge is that things are moving at an accelerating clip. So it's not just things are moving fast, things are actually accelerating their pace. It's almost going exponential in terms of the number of network devices on the face of the planet, the amount of data. 2015, there were 14 billion network devices on the face of the planet. By 2020, there's estimates of upwards of 50 billion or more in just 4 years. So that accelerating clip of change, data is also doubling every 2 years, means that even a startup that starts completely new today with the latest and greatest technology, in 4 or 5 years will fall behind because of legacy technology. So how do we refresh and we keep up with the speed, I think, is the biggest challenge. Now, the huge opportunities to solve that problem, in my opinion, are first and foremost modular reuse of cloud services. So instead of in the past, we bought an entire application, it had its user interface, it had its code, and it had its data layer and its security all wrapped around the application, we should much more think about remixing modular services in cloud. So it's almost like stitching together a quilt. You maybe have one piece of your quilt that is about authenticating the user. You may have another piece of it which is collecting data. Another one that's actually mapping something on GIS. But you can change out those parts much quicker than redoing an entire system, and that's how you can keep up with the speed. It also allows you to pivot from being application-centric to being data-centric, because really the most important thing is the data. How it's presented will come and go. I mean, right now we are doing things on mobile devices, but maybe in the future, a year or two from now, we're doing things on Ocular Rift or other 3D reality or things, whatever it might be. That'll come and go. The data is the most important part. And then the third thing that really fascinates me is we're right now at a point in which cybersecurity is really, really, really hard. Partly just because there's so many interfaces and exposures. And also the internet, quite frankly, TCP/IP was not built with security in mind initially. So how do we solve that? I think we need to think much more about a public health or resiliency approach. And I recognize my background with the CDC may be coming through. You think about it, there's nothing in the real world in which you guarantee 100% security. When you go to a restaurant, you hope nothing bad happens, but someone could show up and do something bad. But we have defense in depth in that we have many different layers of detection, containment, and things like that in the real world. We need the same thing that occurs in the digital world, which is a sub is not compromised if it springs a leak. It has containment, it closes it off, and addresses the problem. We need to have many more systems that are like that are resilient in nature and aren't as fragile, so that if something happens, it rapidly detects it, contains it, and responds to it. I think we have to do that because where we're going with the Internet of Everything, I mean, your refrigerator, your car, possibly your clothes will be connected to the Internet. And while your clothes and your refrigerator are less of a concern, if your car gets compromised, that could be a life and death issue. And so we need to rethink new ways of working together, different than when it came before. And that's going to require CIOs to not just be focusing on the technology, but focusing on the people, the policy, and the different strategy levers they can pull to enact change.
What do you think are the most important skills for aspiring IT professionals today?
The first thing I would recommend is curiosity. If you don't have curiosity, then IT is probably not the right field for you because the field is always changing. And if you're not hungry for what's next, but at the same time trying to figure out how to make things work, you're going to fall behind. There is no textbook for the exciting projects we're trying to do today. The second one, it really is about being willing to get outside of your comfort zone. If you sign up to be in the technology field or any type of field that ties to technology and not step outside of your comfort zone, you're going to be limited as to what you can do as a leader. I look back at my own experiences and probably more than 60-70% of them have actually been non-technology related. They brought technology in, but it was definitely stepping outside my comfort zone. I think that's key is we need many more CIOs and IT leaders that can reach across the non-IT side, the programmatic side, and actually help drive the mission. And then the third is, at the end of the day, find joy in the mission of whatever organization you sign up for. And it's the mission regardless of the technology, because really in my mind, IT is there to enable the mission to occur. And whereas in the past it may have been talked about how IT supported the mission, I now think, especially in the digital age, IT and the mission are very much codependent, but you have to have that joy for the mission outcome because that's what will make you an effective leader.
So I'm just wondering, what is your trick? Because I did a little research before our meeting today, and I know there have been like 9 CIOs in the last 8 years at the FCC, so that's typically not a job that people do well in for so long. You so far made 2.5 years. I don't want to jinx you, but what do you think has been the trick?
So as a CIO, I think the best thing I do is listen and learn and try to build a theory of the case as to what are the different things that are needed for the different offices. The second thing is to actually be very open about that you want people to give you feedback. In a changing environment, the top is only a few people, whereas an organization has many more people on the edge, and they're actually going to know best what fits their context. And so it's much more about cultivating and raising their insights up, as opposed to just doing things from the top. And the good thing is, I've now been doing the same thing that my PhD showed at the FCC, as well as with the defense and intelligence communities, which is about championing change agents. Change agents, I give them autonomy, I give them measurable progress, and I give them a meaningful source of work. And that intrinsically motivates them to be much more doers and getting stuff done on the edge than it would ever be possible if we tried to do it in terms of command and control from the top.
So here we have the CIO of a major government agency, and you're advocating for bottoms-up, democratic-oriented change as opposed to top-down, rule-based change. That's very unique. I think a lot of people in the private sector would be shocked to hear that you're pioneering this sort of thinking.
Yes, well, I mean, again, it's what you have to do in rapidly changing or disruptive environments, and so I can actually say the data supports it. The other thing that you also have to do is not only empower the edge, but you also have to encourage and cultivate a diversity of insights. I actually tell my team, I'm going to have blind spots. I want them to be able to point them out, bring data, so it's not just your opinion, but bring data. But I'm open at any given time, come into my office, let's have a conversation, and if you think there's a better way we can go as an organization in terms of our strategy, please bring it, because I know I'm going to have blind spots, I'm only human, and we're in an era of rapid, turbulent technology change, and so we all have to work together, cultivating change agents.
So, looking at this landscape of technology, the people, what advice would you give to technologists in any place over the next coming couple of years, how to make their career successful? Should they be focusing on a specific technology, a specific skill, an industry? What would you tell people? If you want to succeed in tech today, this is what you should do.
Look at whatever your current job is as the bare minimum of things you have to do. I think a lot of people look at their job description and say, that's all I'm going to do. And in fact, I'm like, no, that's just the common denominator. Go above and beyond that. Take on things that are outside of your job description. Look for opportunities to step outside of expectations. If you accept the mantra of being a creative problem solver and going above and beyond your job description, you'll succeed beyond your wildest expectations.